Trust you can see my screen.
Yes, Cathy.
Okay, awesome. All right, everyone. So we'll begin today's session. Again, once again, thank you for joining in. This is all about preparing for the vehicle engineering design event, which will be taking place later in January, and for the submissions that go towards it. Today, we have Peter, Pedro, and Michael, who are co-leads of the engineering design event for either CV or for EV. We do have Nicholas as well, who's not present. Today we will be going over the following agenda. Our plan is to finish, our particular presentations within the hour and then open it for Q&A. We'll first start with talking about the VED submissions and the process. Peter will go ahead with talking about the goals for the DSS and the EDP, what judges would like to have communicated to them, do's and don'ts. Then Peter will speak about how to succeed in the Q&A, how to organize and be prepared for it. Mike will talk about hints, pointers, his past experience with the engineering design event, and how you can practically apply whatever you're going to be submitting into the VD process. So let's do this. And then we'll open the Q&A after that. So yeah, we'll start with the VED event. As you know, Formula Bharat 2023, we've split into 3 rounds this year. We've got the concept goals management round, which all of you finished in October. That was a total of 36 points. We have the vehicle engineering design event coming up in January, out of which the submissions plus the event itself is equal to 74 points. And then finally, the engineering design finals for the teams that do make it is going to be on site. And that will be at the event on site, and that is you get up to 40 additional points. So in total, the entire engineering design event is 150 points, and you can refer whatever I'm going to share today over here is directly from the rule book. So please go through the rule book. Right now, I think it's version 1.6 that is the most recent version to look at. So in and part for the VED submissions, we've got 2 documentations, I would say, that we had to submit, and this is in Rule S 3.3 and 3.4. One is a design specifications sheet, of which the template is located on formulabharat.com/downloads under the templates folder. And then you've got the engineering design presentation, which is a video submission. And you will not be submitting the video physically via the upload portal. You'll be submitting the link, which I'll go through in a bit. So let's go a quick dive into the EDP submission. Basically, your engineering design presentation is a formal introduction of your final prototype design to the design judges. It is considered as an extension to your CGMR report. So in this, you're focusing mostly on the engineering design of the vehicle and the design decisions that came up to it. The video has to be no longer than 20 minutes, a recorded video presentation. You can use whatever means to record and however you feel that it would be best explained to the judges. Think of the judges as the senior engineering team in your company for which you're building your vehicle, and that is who you're presenting this to. So it's an overall vehicles engineering design with a review. You have your team's design objectives that come into play, and pretty much if you had worked on an engineering design report in before, this is it in video format, right? Then we have the EDP submission itself. So you need to upload the video on a video sharing platform. It can be YouTube, Vimeo, any platform which is not Google Drive. Please do not upload your video on Google Drive because it takes a long time for judges to have it buffer. And sometimes if there are restrictions and it becomes very difficult, do not upload your video on Google Drive. All right, make sure if your video is being uploaded on a video sharing platform that it is publicly accessible. On YouTube, you have the option to put it as unlisted so that it is not public. It is only open to whoever the link is shared with, right? Do not make sure your video is not private. But when you submit it, please have a friend or a teammate check via their account whether they can access the video with no issues. Because again, if the judges do not see your video, you will lose those points for the EDP. And then submission to the FB portal. So according to the rules, all you need to do is submit a A4 page, which is following the file formatting protocol of a non-template document. So the header needs to have certain information and the footer needs to have certain information. This file formatting protocol is located on formulabharat.com/downloads under guidelines. It's something that you've probably used for all the documents so far. So please open it and go through it to know how to submit. In that same one pager, you could add a video timeline. So in case your video presentation is divided into, like, we're talking about suspension now, we're talking about brakes now, we're talking about powertrain now, you can definitely put that as like a what is called a timeline, where at 1 minute 10 seconds you're talking about this. That would probably help the judges. You could add external links on this one page, but please note it is up to the judge's discretion to open those external links and review whatever additional information you want to provide them with. The most important thing is, do not upload the video file on the FB Formula Bharat upload portal, or do not upload slides via the portal. You just need to make the video recording submission, and you just need to have that link provided to us. That's pretty much what it is. So just quickly, I'll go through the VED actual event preparation, but the judges present today and the leads present today will definitely go over it in more detail. So each team will be assigned around 45 minutes for a slot. It is one team in that entire room. The team may make a brief introduction, if you'd like, brief introduction of your team to the judges before you'll move into the respective breakout rooms. It is open so that the members can move between breakout rooms if and when they feel that it is necessary. And we are not recording the session because of breakout rooms. It becomes very complicated to record. So it's up to your team to record if via another means, because you wouldn't be able to record via Google Meet and have it on your own desktop or computer. So there are other recording platforms. You can use that, if you'd like to record your session and have a copy of it for review or feedback later on. So there will be minimum 3 breakout rooms, and it can increase based if we have more judges who'd like to split apart. The breakout rooms will be named, so you know which room that you can go into and what the judge will be questioning on. But the minimum 3 breakout rooms are in structures, vehicle dynamics, and powertrain. The breakout rooms may have 1 judge, may have 2 judges. It's completely up to how the judges feel comfortable in moving around in the room. And lastly, I think I did not include a slide here on that. Very, very important is, please ensure that there's a live video feed of your vehicle and that you are prepared to provide that. The vehicle engineering design event particularly is focused on your finished prototype. So you need to have a live video model, and ideally you need to have photos of, if you have photos of your vehicle that you obviously submitted a photo submission, but if you have additional photos as well, that would be helpful if your live video feed does not work for any reason at that time. So you can show that to the judge, but please, please, please have a live, have the setup ready to show live video feed. Since you know there's going to be minimum 3 breakout rooms, have 3 new persons on your team who are responsible for providing that live video feed. Do not, if you can, if and when possible, please have stands for your, if you're planning to do it via cell phone, have stands for it, because the more you move, the more poor the feedback is and the imagery is. You waste more time in trying to zoom in and zoom out. If you have a stand, it's more clear and judges can have a clear view of your vehicle while they're talking to you in the breakout room. So remember that you will lose points if you do not have a live video feed of your vehicle, or you do not have a live prototype or a fully finished prototype to show, because the point of the vehicle engineering design event is to showcase a fully finished engineering prototype or the vehicle that you have. I think I'm done from my end. Before we move on to the other judges, if anyone have anyone has any questions in terms of the preparation or guidelines, please let me know. I'll be happy to quickly answer that, and then we can move on. Okay, I think we can move on then. Peter, would you like to go ahead?
Sure. Crystal, are you going to run the slides for me, or should I share my screen?
Oh, 1 second. Okay. Crystal?
Yes, I can share the screen.
Okay, thank you, Crystal. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. Always good to see Formula engineers. And why wouldn't you be here? Because you've spent most of the last year, whatever time period, desperately trying to get points in Formula Bharat, and here we are this evening to try and help you get a few more points in Formula Bharat. So this is like tuning the car or improving your machining or anything else. Let's see, can we get my slides up? I'm sorry, Crystal. Oh, you're going to do that? Great. Thank you, Crystal. Really appreciate that. There we go. Okay, so what I want to talk about this evening is some overall goals for the design specification sheet and the engineering design presentation. And I've got a subtitle here. This is what the judges tend to be looking for, and it might be a little bit different than what you thought you were writing for. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. Let's talk about the DSS first, the design specification sheet. I really want to encourage you to not blow this off. It is so easy to do. It looks like a fill-in-the-blank type thing. But think of it this way. Your engineers, you're used to seeing machines described as a series of specifications. Well, you've got a new machine here. You're describing this machine through your specifications. You're the ones that know it best. You're the ones that know what story you want to tell. If you try and tell that story through your specs, then you're going to reach out and touch the judges and give them a positive first impression. If the numbers that you give fail to tell a story of what the design of this car is, well, you've lost yourself an opportunity to make a good impression, to tie your design together, to create a complete design. Okay, so what the judges are expecting, what I mean by full list is, again, you've got the required categories on the DSS. Think about what it is that you want to tell the world about what your car is, and make sure that those numbers that you write down presented. I'm not giving you any latitude to vary the numbers that you report, but keep in mind that you're telling a story. Accurate and as built, for example, mean we'd like to see the mass of the finally built car, not your hopes. We see an awful lot of teams present 180 kilogram cars, and then we see the thing on the ground in Coimbatore, and it's like, right, 180 pounds would be just maybe the rolling part. Center of gravity has that same problem. We're not looking for your design goals. We're looking for what you actually built. We're looking for something measured. We're looking for what the actual machine's characteristics are. Power, we really don't want to hear what the KTM Duke is going to produce as installed in the KTM motorcycle. We want to see what it does when it's in your Formula Bharat car, fully restricted and running under your engine management system. So take the fantasy out. Talk about the machine that you really have as you have built it, as it's on the ground. If there are a few things that aren't quite done, well, that's bad. But better off just reporting that, and reporting that it's preliminary, and reporting that it's an estimated or a design figure. Okay, so what you're trying to do with this story is imagine if you were buying a new Dallara. You're going to put it on your race team. You're going to run in a junior formula series. You're considering a particular model. You want to run through its specs. You want to compare it against other cars. That's what you're writing down. Now, you don't get any points for this, none at all. but you do get the opportunity to make a good first impression in the minds of your judges. Okay, Crystal, next slide, please. Okay, so let's go on to the engineering design presentation. I want to remind you that the engineering design presentation is an engineering communication. Please try and hold down the buzz. You're trying to get an engineering point across. Let's ask what communication is. And communication is, well, audience and message. Who are you talking, excuse me, who are you talking to, and what are you trying to tell them? I'm going to tell you who you're talking to and what you're trying to tell them. You're talking to the judges. If you're writing this as a senior design project, if you're writing this for any other reason, you'll need to write a special one just for the judges. The message that you're trying to deliver is about your car and how cleverly designed it is in order to get the most points in Formula Bharat. A Formula Bharat car is merely a machine for getting Formula Bharat points. That's all it does. It doesn't have any other purpose. You're directed. Notice that the message is about your car. It's not about you. We're interested in you. We'd like to get to know you. Would like to get to know where your team is coming from, but that'll happen later on site when we come and talk to you in your paddocks and just finally get to meet each other face to face. But your engineering design presentation and vehicle engineering design are about your car and nothing else. Not really about your situation, other than that the situation brings the car to life. Okay, so elements of how your car is cleverly designed, I think can be distilled into what have you got, how did it get that way, and how do you know that you're right? So I want to look at each one of these individually. Slide, please. Okay, let's look at the what. So if we look at the engineering design presentation, what you're trying to show in the engineering design presentation, how your car is designed to get points. What did you do that is really clever, that is going to make sure that you get more points than, or really the most points available? Let's put it that way. As you define this, clarity is important. Engineering clarity is always highly valued. It needs to be correct. It needs to be accurate. We're looking for things in your design process that are clever. Would Plato have designed this car? If Plato were on your team and thought about what you have available, what you don't have available, what you can do, what you can extend yourselves to do, what would Plato have achieved? This is not a matter of putting a car together so much as designing a car to be the best that it can be. There are a lot of ways to design a formula car, an infinite number of ways, I guess you could say. So do you understand what it is that keeps your car from being better? Your car could always be better. Why is it not? It's a judicious choice that you're making. Every engineering design in the world is working under a system of constraints and availability of choices. And you can pretend that they're not constraining you, and that would be foolish, or you can explain how your choices came to be made. Remember that what you are is Formula Bharat engineers. You're not 5 guys piecing together a junkyard car that looks like it passes tech. You're trying to give your best design estimate of how to get points in Formula Bharat, which means that you need a good understanding of the discipline of Formula Bharat or Formula Student or Formula SAE and how the technologies combine in order to create success in that discipline. Okay, so it's easy to very vaguely and generally say what, but let me talk about some fairly specific what-nots. Remember that what your objective is to get points in Formula Bharat. So if you tell us, quite frankly, we don't care whether your car has 13-inch or 15-inch or 16-inch wheels, but we do care how you've designed your car to accelerate or to skid pad. We want to know about the success that your car is going to have because of its quick turn-in. We really don't care about the mechanical details except for the fact of proving that your car is going to do what you say it will do. Okay, be careful on the engineering analysis and design logic that you show to the judges, because everything that you show in your presentations is a proxy for your entire process that's taken you all year. So if you show us something that looks suspect or erroneous, that throws your whole presentation into doubt. And remember that you're trying to give an impression in any presentation. Remember that there's more than one way to build a car. There always is one way to build a car. Some of your competitors have chosen a slightly different way. Were they wrong? You could have chosen a number of slightly different ways. Why did you choose the one that you did? You'll need to show that. You'll probably need to do preliminary designs over and over in order to determine which one is best for you. Okay, and of course the big no-no is to fail to understand your discipline. Crystal, slide please. Okay, so how have you done it? You're showing us, you've told us what you've done. You've told us this clever car that you've created that's going to pull down a lot of points. How did you do it? We need to know how you did it. Now, let me start with engineering analysis tools, and I'll give you one of my favorite examples, which is a beautiful finite element map of, let's say, an upright. What that tells the judges is that you know how to run FEA as a tool. It doesn't tell us that you've actually achieved any form of design with that tool. Let's say you've done a finite element analysis of an upright. You've assured that it won't break. Well, that just means that it has sufficient strength. Can you create a design that has that same amount of strength that is lighter, maybe easier to machine, maybe less costly, maybe stiffer? Parts are as strong as you decide they must be. Maybe a little bit stronger, but not much, and certainly no less strong. After that, it's good design is a matter of can you achieve that strength target or that flexibility or that rigidity target or whatever its target is with improved weight, with improved cost, with improved secondary characteristics. That's engineering design. Checking exercises are not really that useful. Have you looked at alternate designs? Engineers want to finish the project. They want to have those plans written down. They want to be guided to one result. And the reality is that there is no one result. There are a lot of different ways to do this. You chose the ways to do this. Don't pretend that the other ways are not good. But you can assert that the way you've chosen makes the most sense from your point of view. Tell us about what you compared your final selection to. Remember that this is a system design. You've got a car, it has systems, the systems have components, the components have features, all designed and collected to go together. This is systems design, and we want to hear about how you organize that. Be sure to tell us the stuff that's significant. In engineering design presentations and vehicle engineering design, we see a lot of, the old term is boilerplate, a lot of page filler. That really doesn't do you any good. You're trying to touch your judges. You're trying to show them something clever that you've done, that you thoroughly wrung out, that you put into your car. We really don't want to see another finite element analysis of why the Formula Bharat minimum frame rules are adequately safe. We're glad that you've gone out and assured that, but it's not really part of your clever car design, because you had to have that in the first place. So mere strength checking exercises are an important part of your engineering design process, but they're background. They're not the good details that you want to present. Okay, things not to do. We talked about single finite element analysis runs that don't really contribute to an iterative design process. We've seen plenty of teams that really only think of one way to do it and never compare. We see many teams that divide their teams up between, say, powertrain, vehicle dynamics, chassis, and don't really integrate those pieces together, with the result that the car comes out big and heavy and somewhat awkward. Okay, remember that you're everything that you do in design judging is a presentation every step of the way. We're not asking for the whole story, and you shouldn't be presenting the whole story. You should be presenting your best stuff. You should be presenting the stuff that makes your car superior with enough supporting detail that we are willing to believe that your car can exist. Okay, can I have the next slide, please? Okay, so huge part of the Formula Bharat scoring rubric, and you can check this out, take a look at the score sheet, it's available to you, is validation and assurance. How do you know that what you've done is right? You made a lot of assumptions, you tried to meet design goals, you've got a whole lot of unknowns out there before the thing finally hits the ground. You're trying to predict that as closely as possible, but inevitably you'll be off a little bit. So what we're looking to see is you designing to a particular parameter, say an acceleration figure that you want to meet, say a skid pad time that you want to meet. That then becomes a design goal through the entire process. We need to have you go back and check that goal, measure, did you make it? If you didn't make it, why didn't you make it? If there's a difference, should you calibrate your process? Can you adjust the design? Design is iterative between a target and the design effort to reach the target. Based on how the finished product performs, you may want to go back and adjust your design process or adjust the design of the vehicle itself. Okay, you made a lot of assumptions. Let's say an assumption would be tire force coefficients. Maybe they're plus or minus 10 or 20% based on the information you had. What would that 10 or 20% difference do to your design? Would it come out differently? Would it weigh more or less? Would it perform better or worse? And how much? Do you understand how sensitive your design is to the assumptions that you had to make for the engineering parameters that you used to design the car? Okay, now this last bullet under how do you know, develop the design. What that means is when it's had its first run, that's just the starting point. I'm going to say that if you finished your first prototype, you don't necessarily understand it, which means that the teams that show up that got the car running last night are missing a big part of the design process. Can you study what you've just produced and discover a way to wring more points out of it? And is that wringing guided by the data that you take and the analysis that you're still doing? Okay, so just to turn this around to things done wrong. If you haven't done anything post-design or post-build, then you're missing, I won't say half the process, but at least a third of it. If you're not checking your assumptions, then you're designing for hope or designing for fantasy. Very, very bad mistake in engineering design. And again, there is no one answer. So your first concept may be feasible, but it is certainly not optimal. Your judges would like to see optimal design. Next slide, please. Okay, so trying to summarize this overall, here's a little bit of a Formula Bharat haiku for you. There are lots of cars you could have built, but this is the one you did. There are an infinite number of Formula Bharat car designs out there, and you zeroed in on the particular design that you're presenting to us. Why? Is it the best car? How do you know that it's the best design? Can you defend your engineering design decisions? I'll ask you again, if Plato were on your team, are these the judicious choices that he would have made? Remember that it's a car, it's not a collection of systems. We want to talk about the car as a single animal, as a single device, as opposed to any particular system. Of course, systems make a car. You'll need those in order to accomplish the car's function. Remember that it's not a car. It's just a machine to make points in Formula Bharat. You're not going to go out on a date in it. You're not going to go out and buy groceries in it. You're not going to keep it around in your garage for 5 or 10 years. You're going to take it down to Coimbatore for one week and get as many points as you can out of it. And after that, it's just an artifact. Okay, if you've done something clever, and you better have, tell us about it. Don't bury us under your frame safety analysis and forget to tell us how you created a trick way to connect the drivetrain to the rear tires and nail acceleration. We want to hear about your good stuff. And quite frankly, don't waste the judge's time. You want our attention. You're going to get our attention by telling us about really cool Formula Bharat engineering and not. Okay, let's put it this way. This is an academic exercise. To a certain extent, we've asked you for a 10-page paper, and you're desperately trying to fill the 10 pages. Please don't go through those 10 pages. Find the one or two that are actually pretty good stuff, and just present that. Leave the other 8 at home. And last slide, please. Okay, just some bugaboos on presentation. You notice my slides are very stark. I would encourage that. Please don't use a stock background. Why? Because that diverts the attention of your judges. Fill our attention with your intelligence. Don't show us pleasant pictures. Please use high contrast so that we can read it. Some internet hookups are good, some are not. If you're showing a plot and you've got a scale on the plot, we better be able to read those numbers. Remove things that do not support the message that you're trying to give. In the engineering design presentation, in vehicle engineering design, the most important thing is you. You are talking and the judges are trying to listen to your message. If you're going to divert their attention by showing a picture, that's great, but the picture better support what you're saying instead of simply being a declaration. In the same sense, avoid writing paragraphs on your presentation material. You can read 2 or 3 words as a graphic, but you can't read a paragraph that way. If I were to read a paragraph, I'd have to stop listening to the Formula Bharat engineer presenting to me, and I don't want to do that. And remember, it's not about you, it's about the car. Tell us about the engineering design of that car and how it came to be that way. You're describing your logic to us, not your personal passage. We'll discuss your personal passage later and informally. Thank you. I hope I've helped some. I'd be happy to entertain your questions at the end of this seminar. That does me, Crystal.
All right. Thanks, Peter. Pedro, would you be going ahead?
Yeah, I guess it's my turn.
All right.
Let me share my presentation. Okay, we should be going. There we go. So yeah, as Peter mentioned before, it's great to see once again another year so many Formula engineers for a competition that is so dear to me. I was also some years ago one of those engineers. So I've been through what you've been, and I will now talk a little bit about how you can be successful at your Q&A session. So we will divide this into three parts, and the 3 parts are very simple. You need to prepare for your Q&A session. You need to actually do the Q&A session, and then you need to take some type of follow-up for that Q&A session. And what can you do before the Q&A session that will help you? That's what we are going to focus on this slide. And the first thing is to really look at the rubric. Peter said it, and I know that Michael will pick your head about it. So I think this will be covered very, very deeply. But all of the questions inside the Q&A will be for judges to get you some score inside that rubric. So take a look at it, know it by heart, and it should be clear within your team which teammates are going to answer to which types of the rubric. This is particularly important since you are going to have breakout rooms, as Cathy explained. So you're going to need to split between those breakout rooms. So you better make the right split. You want to have the cooling guy to talk with the cooling judge. And you will need to adapt. Different judges have different at different backgrounds. They can make different sets of questions. So as in any real life world engineering challenge, you will need to adapt quickly and inside of that presentation. So if you know your teammates, you can quickly call them. Maybe maybe it's going to be better if one of your teammates can quickly change breakout rooms, or if not, you should have multiple people prepared to discuss the same topic. Peter has been talking about your EDP. Make sure you have the best one possible, but you will definitely, if you look to your EDP with a critical, in a critical manner, you will see that there's some weak spots. Focus on those and prepare new material to ensure that you can cover that information. Once the judge goes through your EDP, if some of the sections of the rubric are missing, they will surely ask you about that. If they feel that some of the questions inside the rubric are not well detailed, well, they will also ask you about that as well. Well, people normally say that practice makes perfection. Well, not always. Most often it doesn't, but it definitely helps you improve. So practice your Q&A sessions with your teammates. It's a pretty simple layout for the event. Judges will ask questions about your presentation, about the material you've presented. Make sure teammates can see the material you are going to present, and that they can ask you questions about it. That will definitely make you feel more comfortable once you get to the actual Q&A, and eventually correct some things. One of the main things when you are doing this is to get some feedback from your teammates. If you are explaining something and your teammate is not understanding, then most often than not, the problem is on the emitter side. So you should adapt the way you are explaining. If you did not, if your answer was not clear to them, and we'll run this into the second part. I think okay, back to the correct slide. Sorry about that. Then you will. So what I was saying was, when you are practicing with your teammates, make sure you get feedback from them and learn from what they tell you. If you gave them an answer that they didn't understand, then probably you didn't give the right answer, at least not what they were looking for. So during the actual Q&A, the first thing I would say is be punctual. I cannot stress this enough, the amount of times that we've wasted Q&A time because we were waiting on team members from the team. Not all the team members are there. And, oh, the guy that is going to answer this is slightly late, is still connecting. Make sure all of your team members are there on time, ready to enter the session and make the most out of the session time. Trust me, whatever the time is, if it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it is, it's going to feel very, very short. So we're going to use every single minute to query your car, and in the end, you'll feel like it has gone pretty quickly. At least for the judges, it goes very, very quickly. So if we are wasting time on not being punctual, then you are simply losing points, directly losing points for what I would say it's a complete stupidity. So then the actual Q&A for me is an exercise of intelligent listening and also intelligent talking. The first part of it, it's definitely intelligent listening, which basically means you need to understand what the judge wants. The judge will make you a question and is making that question with a purpose. It is your duty at that time to understand what the purpose of that question is. Some tips for this: you can rerun the question in your head. Try to get what is the heart of the question. Some people call this active listening. Try to identify within what you have listened, which is the crux of the matter. It is very often that judges make questions with multiple parts, so multiple questions inside. Oh, can you tell me what is your weight distribution and how does that impact your car performance, for example? Make sure you systematically answer both of these questions, normally in the same order. Write down those questions if it helps. At least for me, it's very helpful for me to write the questions as the judge is asking them. And if you did not understand the question, it's perfectly fine. Just ask for the judge to clarify or even rephrase the question. After we've tried to understand what the judge wants, then it's time for us to answer to its question. That is what I'm now calling intelligent talking. And the first step is to pause. Make sure you really know what you are going to say. Think about it. Well, but don't think for too long, because once again, you cannot be stopping for 1 minute to try and discover what the correct answer is. But you can make a short break, make sure you really know what the judge wants, and then prepare your answer in a very short and direct manner. Make sure it goes straight to the point. And the answer should be composed of two essential things: the point, or the answer that you are going to make, and the reasoning. And this is very, very important, the reasoning behind that answer. Well, specs of your car is definitely not going to help you here. The questions will not be what type of battery are you using, or what is the voltage of your battery. They will rather be, why did you select this voltage? So this is where reasoning will come in helpful. Once again, it's very, very common for students to rumble for quite a while, and this is normally bad for you. And this goes to the point of making a short and direct answer. If you understand, normally for most of the questions, if you understand the point correctly, then a simple and very, very short answer should be enough. And sometimes when you rumble, judges will interrupt you, and you should understand that this is okay. It's perfectly fine. Judges can say, yes, I understand, or I didn't understand. And you should let the judge interrupt you, because you've either already answered their question and they want to move on, or you've completely missed the point. And if the judge feels that you've missed the point, you did miss the point. Going back to Peter's presentation, the audience is the judge. You need to get that message to the judge. So if the judge didn't got your message, then you failed at transmitting what you wanted, and you should try and ask the judge to rephrase the question. Perhaps you missed the point, and default once again to try some sort of intelligent listening. Or eventually, if you don't know the answer at all, then you should just say it. We didn't prepare for that. We do not know. And move on for us to move on for a different question. There are more points to be gained, perhaps, if you quickly understand that you do not have a correct answer for the judge. Accompanying your answers with validation is probably one of the most important things throughout the Q&A. If a judge asks you about why did you select some suspension parameter, or for example, how did you select your suspension angles, then you should give them detail what was your design process, and in the end, talk to them through some validation. Oh, we did this sensitivity test to these particular angles, and these were the results on our lab times. This is what will get you definitely the most points for each of the rubrics. And do not rumble, again, emphasizing that as much as possible. Try to have your answers as short and concise as possible, accompanied with validation. And my last point about your presentation throughout the Q&A is going to be, try to use presentation material intelligently. Long PowerPoint slides filled with text are quite common. We see them all the time, and they really don't add anything up. Normally, a single image, a single graph, a single table with just the necessary information will help you transmit the point better. But you have to have this material prepared. And to have this material prepared, you need to really look deep into your design, into the rubric, and understand what are the key things that you want to show about your design. This should already be somewhat present in your EDP, and this is the material that you want to help you make a point. As I was saying before, if you have some sort of validation throughout your variation of your suspension angles and your test time and your track times, then this is the type of information you should cleverly put into a graph, so that you can transmit that this validation was attained and these are the results. Well, the Q&A doesn't end directly at that session. It is quite important after the Q&A to understand what you did well. This will help you improve further. Make sure you look throughout your Q&A and first have a feeling for what you think it went out well, and then ask your teammates. Do this also for what you think you've done poorly. And Based on what you've done poorly and what you've done very, very well, you can then ask yourselves, how can I do better next time? Pick up the points that you did well, remove the points that you've done poorly, and try to improve on those. There are two tools to get this type of feedback. You will receive feedback from the judges as you do each year, but you can also have feedback from your teammates. Normally, there are 30 to 50 of you inside the presentation. Make sure you ask your teammates, how did my presentation go? What did you think I could do better? And so following these three, let's say, simple steps is the way I think you should prepare for your Q&A. So remembering you should prepare your Q&A, understand what topics you have to defend, which people you have for each topic. Make sure you practice your Q&A. During the Q&A session, be punctual, use intelligent listening and intelligent talking. Prepare your material wisely, and then make sure you follow up right after your Q&A session to try and take the most for the next steps. Remember that this is just the second step of the design event. If you are good enough at this stage, then that means that at Coimbatore event itself, you'll have to once again defend your design through the judges. So this can be a perfect test run for what you are going to show in Coimbatore. And that's it for me. I'm also happy to answer to any questions at the end of this session.
All right. Thanks, Pedro. Mike, you may go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen. All right. Can you see my PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Fantastic. Hello, teams. My name is Michael Bakaic. This is a picture of me in my car from the year 2010. Cathy and I were on the same team. We built this car together. I'm going to talk about 2 practical tips for the design event. Just 2 to keep it simple. Points and the rubric. If you only remember 2 words from this presentation, remember points and rubric. I want to instill upon you the importance of speaking about points in your design presentation. The competition is about scoring points. That's the overall objective of this event. Use the story about how you score points to tell us the big picture of the design of your vehicle. This professionally made graphic is trying to show you that if you just talk about the design of the wheel or the design of the wings, we're only seeing small components in isolation. We want to see the overall picture of the car. And points are an effective way for you to communicate to the judges the overall design. Answer questions like, how many points did you design this car to score? There's 1,000 points in the competition. What are you aiming for? If you say that you plan to score 75 points in Excel, that's the maximum number of points, you can use that story to explain why the car was designed the way it was. Why do you have this amount of power? Why did you choose this overall vehicle weight? Why does the car have aerodynamics or not? Using points is a very effective way for the judges to understand why you did something. So when you're speaking to the judges and say, we have a front and rear wing on the car because we want to score this amount of points, and the wings help us score these points in these events. That's a very effective way to communicate the big picture to the judges. If you don't use points, what often happens is that the team will start speaking about the design of their uprights or the design of their wings, and we'll get too focused on one subsection, and the judges will lose the big picture, and then it's hard for us to understand the design intent behind your work. So use points. my last bullet point here has a emphasized word to drill my point home. The judges score you based on the why behind your efforts. We don't care as much about what the car is, that it has wings, that it has X number of horsepower. We care about why you chose those design elements in particular. So to drill again on the wings, why does the car have wings? That's more important than whether it has wings or not. Just putting wings on the car won't score you points in design. But telling us why the car has wings, that's what you get the points for. If you have wings on the car and you can't explain why they're there, you're going to get 0. So the justification behind your design is more important than merely the fact that something is on the car. So the why is the most important part. In summary, points help us tell the big picture. As judges, we have a very brief time to learn about your car. So if we can't get the big picture from you, then we're looking at just small components. Very hard for us to award you points. In the presentation, start with the big picture. Show the car, show CAD model of the car, show the real car, say, this is our overall vehicle. This is what it looks like. We designed this car to score 850 points in the competition. Start with that, and then work from the big picture down to more specific components. Second, rubric. Now you can see that I've discussed points. The big picture of the car has been unveiled. The second topic that I'd like to speak about is the rubric. And I'm going to be very honest with you. I've participated in many Formula student events, many. The judges are human beings. This is not a trick. The judges are human beings. They are professional engineers that for most of the year do not think about Formula student. Total honesty. They don't think about Formula student for most of the year. They're volunteers. Before the event, we send out a request for volunteers. They come, we give them some training, and some of the training they listen to, and then they show up to the event with the rubric and listen to your presentations. This is the reality of it. There's no way to make it better. We've been trying for more than a decade. So appreciate that the judges are human beings with limited training. In order to adapt to this, as organizers, we tell the judges to follow the rubric, ask questions from the rubric, and score the teams against the rubric, almost word for word, especially for the inexperienced judges. They look at the rubric word for word, which is good for you as the team because you have the rubric. So make the judges' lives super easy and literally walk them through the rubric with your presentation. It's not a trick. They're told to give you points against the rubric, ask questions against the rubric. So coordinate your presentation around the rubric. Talk about each section. Go so far as in the presentation, say, we're talking about this section first, then this section, then this section, and echo the comments in the rubric. That makes the judges' lives easier. I'm not telling you to make things up. I'm saying organize your presentation just like the rubric is organized. That way, when the vehicle dynamics judge is interviewing you, the judge can look at the rubric, listen to your presentation, and say, yes, the team talked about this point, this point, this point. Perfect. That's 25 points out of 25. It's no trick. Make the judges' lives easier. They're told to mark against the rubric. So coordinate your presentation the same way that the rubric is organized so that their lives are easy. The easier the judges' lives are, the higher probability that you'll get points. And that's why you're here. So just like you would design any other part of the car, you're designing your presentation for the objective to score points in design. The most effective way to score points in the design is not really to worry about the car, is to worry about the judges, because the judges are the gatekeepers for the points. Design your presentation to make the judges' lives easy, and you'll get more points. In summary, if you remember only two things from my presentation, remember the words points and rubric. points are the easiest way for you to communicate the big picture of your car to the judges, because they only see you for minutes in the whole year. Use points to show them the big picture. And the rubric is the only way you score points. It's literally the only way you score points. If it's not in the rubric, the judges will not give you the point. So coordinate your presentation around the rubric. That makes the judges' lives easier, and it increases your probability of getting points. Thank you. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any more questions. That's the easiest way to get in contact with me.
All right. Thanks, Mike, and thanks to all of you for taking us through the entire presentation. Teams, if you'll, to all the participants in the meeting, if you'll have any questions, we will take them in the next 15 minutes. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to unmute and ask, or probably raise your hand, and so we could call out your name. In the case you can't do that, maybe you could drop your queries in the chat box.
Very quiet crowd.
I'm guessing they're typing their queries. Yes, Coach, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. The CGMR point distribution, the rubric that was provided was had a distribution of about 100 points, and I believe the rule book said that the CGM will be used as an eligibility criteria for the VED prelims too, right?
Yes, that's right.
So the 36 points, the point distribution, I couldn't find it mentioned anywhere, either in the rule book or in any of the resources provided. Can you please elaborate as to when that was decided that the CGM will hold 36 points, and what exactly is the eligibility criteria for being selected in prelims too?
Yes. So answering that question, one thing notified in the rule book, and I think even in the session that we had about the CGM prior, we mentioned that the entire design event would, of course, amount to 150 points, and that the CGM and the VED and then the finals would have respective points, which is a part of the 150. So firstly, the 100 points that were allotted to the CGM event, that was scaled down to 36 points. So what you'll work towards, we just scaled it down to 36. And the rest of it, like Cathy mentioned, it is for 76, 70,
Okay.
74 points,
Yes.
and then 40 points go in for the finals. So about the eligibility to move in, like you all know that we have not sent in any mails to any teams holding them back from moving into the VED round. So basically all teams are moving into the VED round, provided y'all are submitting all your documents and stuff on time. And so all teams are moving forward to the VED round, but which teams and how many teams move into the finals totally depends on the kind of competition that we see at the VED round.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks. Anyone else? No questions. I'm guessing that was like we had the best session because no questions, everything's clear. Okay, so we'll just wait another 2 more minutes. Any questions? Please raise your hand, drop them in the chat box. And if there are any further questions after this, feel free to write to us at formulabharat@gmail.com. We will forward it to the respective judges. Also, you all can feel free to reach out. Like Mike mentioned, you could reach out to him via LinkedIn. I could also share how you all could reach out to Pedro and Peter for the same. So, if there's anyone who has any questions, we are here for 2 more minutes. Yes, Kunj, go ahead.
Yes,
Go
will
ahead.
we be able to access the session later through YouTube or any of the links, any of the platforms?
Yes, so we will be uploading it there, and once the videos are up, you all will get notified.
Okay, thanks a lot.